Abbie D'Agnese. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. And we've been waiting. And hi, Erik. I love you.
Erik says, hi, Mama.
So we've been waiting to interview DMX, who is a rapper, right?
Erik saying, yes, he's a rapper. Erik saying, the man, the legend, he's here.
When did he die? Was it like a couple of weeks ago, or?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's a couple weeks ago now.
Super recently. And apparently you said that they just had his funeral?
Well, it was funny because like we've been trying to do this session and like everything kept coming up. Usually when that happens, there's usually a good reason for it.
Yeah.
So I was like, I have to kind of just, hold my breath and go, okay, when he's ready, he's ready. And so it's ironic because a friend of mine who is a singer, she's a rapper, she's super talented. I don't know if she was friends with him or friends with like his group or whatever. But she definitely like was friends with him or something and went to his funeral. So, and that was just this past Saturday. So I mean,
find out about that. Well, I will ask that question in due time, but I'm gonna lead up.
I think it was Saturday. It was at least a couple days ago.
Okay, so
I think he wanted to wait till after that.
Is DMX here?
I'm sorry?
Is he here? DMX?
Yep, he's here. He's sitting in my chair.
Hi, thank you so much for coming. And I would like to know what DMX stands for. And I don't know anything about you except it vaguely rings a bell. I'm so sorry. But I'm old. So, take that as a not so bad thing.
So, first off, I know nothing about DMX. I know my fiance, like, back in the day and still, like, loves the music and stuff. I grew up in northern New Hampshire in the country on a farm. I really wasn't listening to DMX other than just, like, at school dances.
Oh.
or like before a sporting event, like we do our warm-up music to like some of his not that he had any appropriate music. He's laughing about that, by the way. Yeah. But so he's showing me this it's like a box radio. What are they called? The boom boxes, like from back in the day.
Yeah.
And he's mentioning something about beatboxing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was like, I don't know if it was a type of beatboxing or if it's something to do with the stereo system or something like that. But I feel like that's more what he's leaning towards, was saying that it came from. So it doesn't necessarily mean like D.M.X.
No,
it doesn't. No. He's saying it flows as one.
That's him, Earl Simmons, Dark Man X. And December 18th, 1970, he was born in Mount Vernon, New York. Died in White Plains, New York, age 50. And April 9th, 2021. Hip hop, East Coast hip hop, gangster rap, hardcore hip hop. Wow.
Yeah, actually, for as little as I know about music, when I was listening to some of his music, just trying to get into his energy, and just having him come in, I was visualizing him with there was a group NWA and there was a singer Eazy-E. Yeah. So I'm curious if he was like friends with him in life.
Oh, well,
he was friends with lots of people. He's saying, he says most you know, lots you don't know, maybe some you will. He says, yeah, I got around. So it sounds like he really had a lot of like rapper friends. So
okay, so tell me about your childhood. What was that like growing up? In Yonkers.
I love his voice. Like his voice is just very hypnotic almost. Like it's got this deep, like even though he's not rapping, just the way he talks is just so tranquil, and it's actually almost relaxing. It's this deep, like it's just this deep, great voice that it almost reminds me of like like somebody that's going to perform like a speech, or he's saying he used to prepare, he's saying he did lots of prayer services.
Oh, wow.
And actually I kind of know that a little bit too. So like he reminds me of like a preacher, or just like the way that he talks is just so, he's just got a great voice, like his regular talking tone.
Or is it about your childhood though? What were your parents like? What was your upbringing like? What kind of hardships did you have as a child?
So first off, he's presenting himself right now as like about the time that he passed in his, he's saying 52. So I don't remember what you said, how old he was when he passed.
He's 50, but maybe he was lying about his age. I don't know. Early 50s.
Well, we'll say it's his early 50s. So I think he's presenting himself to me about right when he passed. He's got like just a little bit of stubble. He's really chill, just the way he's hanging out with me right now. He's just wearing like shorts that are just relaxed, comfortable shorts. He's wearing like, he's saying, yeah, I'm wearing my J's.
Oh.
Yeah, he's just really relaxed with me. And he's like, oh, how I grew up, man. And he's like scratching his chin, and he's like, you really want to hear about it?
I did,
and,
of course, because
he didn't grow up.
in you.
Yeah, he didn't grow up very good. But he keeps just reaffirming to me, and I was actually discussing this with him a little bit before we came on, just that there is a purpose for everything. So he wants to, like, he says, I want to reaffirm that rhetoric, that there's a purpose to everything. He says, and God only knows. He says, and God only knows. He says, but you know, you follow that purpose, man, and magic happens. Beautiful things happen. He says, just follow your path. He says, and follow what feels good. And then he starts laughing. He says, haha, but not always.
Oh my God, that's funny. So
I
basically,
just want to tell you, he was trying to get me to do a shot of Hennessy. There's like Hennessy on my counter in my kitchen before I came on, and you were like, I'm not doing ew.
oh my God. So basically, you're saying you had a tough childhood, but if you follow your soul plan to its purpose, then all good things can come from that. But so tell me about your parents.
He says it's a matter of how hard you work also. He says never, he says don't demonize yourself too much. Don't patronize yourself too much. He says it's about working hard and just keeping on going, keeping on working.
Yeah.
He says a dreamer can only, he's so poetic. He's like, a dreamer can only dream. I wish I could have you listen to him. He's like, a dreamer can only dream, a singer can only sing. He says it takes the heart and the morals of a man. That's what makes the man. That's what makes the dreamer a dream. He says, forget the ego. He says that shit's nothing.
Oh my God. Chill.
He's okay. I gotta say this. His energy, it gives me goosebumps. It's beautiful. Like he is an evolved being. Like he's saying I'm a sacrificial lamb is what I am. Yeah. Again, he sounds like he's rapping when he just talks because of his voice. Oh God.
Yeah, his all that stuff. But to get back to the point, tell me about your parents. Tell me about your mother. Come on. And your childhood, your siblings, if you have any, etc.
So he didn't know his dad.
Okay. At all?
He didn't know all of his siblings.
Okay. Some of them died, right? In stillbirth. They were stillbirth, right?
He says he's got so many stories with that man. So it sounds to me like his mom, he's giving me the age of 6 right now. It's really sad. So his mom, I don't know if she had an issue with crack or like what her drug of choice was, but he's showing me this image of this like adorable little boy with scars actually like on his back from getting beat.
Oh.
And he's showing me this like, you know, those metal radiators. He's showing me this like scared little boy like trying to warm up to this like metal radiator that barely has any heat
in New York. Oh.
And that feeling of like just cold and empty, and like he's saying the rhymes just went through his head, and that's where it began. And it just was always there. And he had so much to say, but at the same time, he had nothing to say at all. He goes, it's ironic I was with the Rough Riders because it was the rough ride, baby. He got in the system like when he was young, and I knew that anyway, other than him just mentioning it right now. But it sounds to me like he stayed in the system and stayed in the. He says he was a victim of circumstance. He was a victim of the system.
In the system.
Yeah.
What do you mean by the system?
His mom. Okay, so his mom like dropped him off at an adoption agency, or like not an adoption agency, but like an inner city like kids youth center.
Okay.
And this was back in the day, he says, like in the early, in the 70s, where it's just things were not in place as they are now, and even then it's not still great. He says don't let it fool you. But he was dropped off there, and then he was left there, and he was like, I'm seeing like an image of him looking out the window, because like he kind of didn't know what was going on, and he kind of always thought he did something wrong. He says, but it was his soul plan, and it was his soul destination. So it was part of the process, he says. He needed to feel, well, I'm getting huge spirit bumps. He says, I needed to feel the scars. He says, I needed to create scar tissue.
Beautiful music and poetry. You can't have a cushion.
He says, life is poetic. He says, it's not always a love story. He goes, some of the most beautiful poetry, some of the most beautiful songs, some of the most beautiful things you'll ever read about are the saddest stories you've ever heard in your whole life.
That's so true.
And then he's laughing at me. He goes, why do you think Abbie likes country music so much?
What?
I like all kinds of music, first off.
Oh yeah, okay. Oh yeah. That's cool. All right.
He's laughing. He's going, your dog, your guitar.
Okay, so I got some questions from people that you found on Facebook, that when you called out for questions. What was your life purpose, Mr. Simmons? What were you here to learn? What were you here to teach? And basically,
he says you can call me Earl.
Okay.
Or E, or D man. Okay, I get it. He's going like this right now in the chair, just sitting there. He's so comfortable. That's nice. He says my sole purpose in life was to evolve you, all of you. Wow. He says I was the sacrificial lamb.
Oh my God.
He says I was an evolved being from God.
I believe that.
He goes, I was not an earth child. Wow. He says I was an angel child.
Earth? Were you like an earth angel, in other words?
No, he was above that.
Wow.
He's a very evolved spirit. He says it's not just about lives. It's not just about past lives, present lives, future lives. He says it's about the collective as a whole, and celebrating the greatest being of all, which is our holy God and Jesus Christ, my man.
Oh, that's awesome. Were you religious growing up?
He says, he starts laughing. He says the things that happened made me to be.
I bet.
I don't know if at one point there's this like grandmother figure-ish that I'm seeing. I don't know if it was an adopted like person, or if it was somebody. He's saying it was somebody in his family, so like his grandmother or something, that raised him for a little bit and brought religion and Christianity into the picture for him.
Right.
He says she taught me about the disciples. He says I was one of the disciples.
Oh wow, which one? Maybe it's not important. I don't know.
He's not like.
What do you think about your funeral?
He says that's what he said. It's not the point,
That's not the point. So tell me about your funeral. Did you attend your own funeral?
Wow. He says my whole life was a funeral.
Oh God. Oh wow. Almost everything.
He's so poetic.
Ill. But did you?
Did he attend his own funeral?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you like
He
it?
said, he says, oh man, he's like, if he could blush, he would, but he's black, so you know, you can't really see the blush. But he's got this huge grin, and he is just grateful and thankful and blessed, is what he's saying.
You realize how much your fans adored you, and then I stepped on you there, so just we'll pick back up. But do you realize when you were alive how much your fans adored you?
He says that he always felt the power of the love connection, and that's what drew him to what he did and what he was doing.
Okay, what else were you about to say? Sorry.
I'm sorry, what did you just say? You kind of broke up a little.
It's okay. When you
I'm just telling him to back up a little bit, because the even though I'm like using my phone, which is such better energy, like connection, like it's starting to kind of go in and out a little bit again. Hold on.
Energy. He's got angelic energy, so I'm sure it would interfere or could.
It's not like a negative interference. It's
No.
just a lot. It's just a lot of power. Like it's just a lot of like if gold glitter was a feeling, that would be it. Like I don't know how to explain it. It's just this real angelic like energy, just this sense of just pride and gratefulness and thankfulness for all of his fans and anybody that has ever and will ever listen to his music or anything he says that just strikes you with emotion. Wow. He says he loves everybody.
That's awesome. So did you have any regrets, or do you have any regrets looking at your life at all? Oh, were they all for a reason,
They were really all for a reason. He says that he's bringing up like dogs and some animals that he definitely was pretty controlling over, and like it was more his emotions and what he was going through that was making him. I'm not saying he was abusive to animals because I don't know the situation here, but I'm just relaying what he's saying about the fact that he was more overpowering than he needed to be. Okay. And with like creatures that were smaller than him, and it was because of his own human mind and his own human intellect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody must have talked about your addiction problems. Did you have addiction problems?
Yeah, really bad addiction problems.
Okay, like yeah, talk about that.
So what it began with isn't necessarily completely what it ended with, but it seems like it was cocaine.
Okay.
He says all the rappers were doing it. Oh, yeah. Like back, oh gosh. So he was really young when he started his addiction. This is not something that like he got popular and came into, or when he was like, in his teens. It like we're talking
in his single digits, because I know he had an aunt that apparently, I just read, got him totally drunk on vodka.
Yeah, I mean, like worse than that too. I mean, really, this is something that like he's showing me like the age of 11, which is my son's age, being given things and told, and like they thought it was funny, like they give him like something to smoke and they thought it was funny, like, or gosh, even before then, he's showing me when he was 9, like them giving him alcohol and him throwing up, and they just thought it was funny. And it's just really sad. Like this is something that his whole life, it was not his choice. Gosh,
Is
he
that
always,
up? Is that why he was getting emotional at least? Because of the memory?
yeah.
Okay.
It's it's hard. He says it's hard to regret something that you didn't have a choice about.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes, of course. Yeah.
yeah. So like way early on, he's showing me like 12, 13, 14. There was this like central influence of people around him in his group that he's showing me like beatboxing and like rapping and stuff. And they were the ones that really got him. There was this older, fellow that he really looked up to, and like immediately introduced it to him. And he thought like that's part of the group. That's what he needs to do to fit in. Like that's how he needs to be. He just thought he didn't really put much thought into it because he just kind of, it was handed to him and he did it. And he says it was just always there. It was never really a choice. It's like it was almost suppressed on him a little bit, a lot actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, when you crossed over, what was your first realization? What did you see? Tell me about your transition. White light, I don't know what, to who you met, anything like that.
His grandmother
Oh.
was the first person that met him. His grandmother,
Oh,
and
or
a
what?
couple pieces of my boys. So it seems like he knew a lot of people that passed young. So he definitely like he had a hard time with that. Like seeing them.
Seeing you die.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I keep getting distracted.
We have a few more questions. Don't worry about it.
No, his energy is making me emotional too. Like his energy is making me like feel kind of teary and just feel it's a very intense energy that he carries. And
Oh, it must be so hard.
it's not upsetting. It's just that like he was so grateful when he passed to see everybody he did, but he was more grateful for his life. And it's like he was never completely ungrateful for his life when he was here.
Yeah.
He had his moments. He says, I had my moments, man. He says the industry itself will kill you. Just the industry. He says, I had trust issues anyway. I didn't trust anybody anyway. He says, he was kind of prepared for it though.
The record labels and stuff, I bet they're just awful. Vultures.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so who was your main inspiration? Or maybe name more than one, artistically speaking.
He says his friends.
Friends, like, do you have a somebody that we would know that you can mention?
So it looks to me like a lot of people on the rapper scene that like in the 80s and in the early 90s, like I was saying, like NWA, he's showing me Tupac, he's showing me what's his name? Snoop Dogg.
Okay.
They must have had some kind of relationship there because he's going, oh, Snoop Dogg's my man.
Oh, okay.
There was like Ice Cube. Okay. Like there was just a lot of people, but he says, man, he really is very genuine about his influences were on the street. Yeah. Okay. He says, no. He's correcting me. He says, I want to make that abundantly clear. Those are my influences. He says the people on the street.
Was your music divinely guided? Channeled?
Like I said, his spirit's a very evolved being. So I don't even know. It's like not in my brain, the word for it. It doesn't exist to me, but he's showing me like he's very angelic feeling.
So he's higher self. Maybe he showed
Yeah,
music for his higher self.
he was divine. He says I was divine. He says the question is, was I divinely was I divinely guided? He says by the one and only. He says our Lord, our Savior, and he says Jesus Christ.
I love Jesus.
He's he loved Jesus, and he
Mm.
still loves Jesus. And
Have you met him?
um,
Have you met Jesus?
oh yeah, he says he met him in life.
Wow, what?
Yeah,
Funny.
like he was very intuitive himself. He had experiences his whole life with the divine, actually, and it is just I've never come across this with the spirit before, but he's explaining how he quite literally had, like, I don't know if he had near death experiences that then brought him to meet Jesus, or if, gosh, you know what? I'm just gonna say it. He's showing me right now Jesus sitting at the end of his bed.
Wow. Okay,
Like he really, like he had a relationship with Jesus. We're talking like
oh, well,
he was very divinely guided, I feel like.
is it because of a near-death experiences only, or did you just have a, while you were asleep, lucid dreams, or like, hey,
He says, no. He's saying I was the shepherd. I did what was guided to me and what was given to me. I did my job. I did my task.
Mm.
He says I guided. You can call. He says I got it out of. You can call it love. You can call it out of institution. You can call it out of divine energy, whatever you want to call it. He says it doesn't matter. He says I brought the word of the gospel and of Jesus to everyone.
Well, how?
I wonder if he was a minister. Like
Oh,
he's very biblical speaking.
How did you bring the gospel to the people? Only through your
He
song?
says I preached it. He says I preached it. I
Stuff like that?
what was that?
You preach it on the streets or through your song or both or what?
Yeah.
Okay, both.
So he's showing me before, like he's showing me this image of him right before this huge concert. And he's not just like praying with his group out back before they go on stage. Oh no. He is like on the mic, sweating, crying, sobbing, screaming, like praise the Lord. Like he is.
Wow. All right,
like
so your mom was a Jehovah Witness, or your family maybe your father was Jehovah Witness, right? Or is that true?
So he didn't have a relationship with his dad.
Okay, right. I think it's dad got run over on a bus or something. I can't remember. I just read it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. This is unimportant. I want to go on because we're running out of time. Was your first wife your soulmate?
He's saying that it's putting it in a human aspect. It's very human to think like I have one soulmate.
Oh yeah.
He's again saying Jesus Christ was my soulmate. God is, he's like pointing to up there. He says that's my world and it should be yours too.
Oh.
He's so like holy.
Well, I think it's a disciple. And we will talk about that. All right, so significance of you and Prince Philip dying on the same day. Anything or just coincidence?
He says don't all the great men leave as legends.
Well, I don't know. You tell me. Well, why did you guys? I mean, you died on the same day, so what's that all about?
He's saying it was an excellent point, Elisa.
Oh, just an excellent point. Okay. 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 So somebody asked, "What's the spiritual purpose for people who come from a background like yours? Black, growing up in the projects, robbing, etc." Well, first of all, did you do it? Had a criminal side to you? A criminal record?
Did he have a what kind of record?
Criminal record at all?
Yes.
So what this person wants to know, what's the spiritual purpose of people growing up the projects, having committing crimes, etc. I don't want to say black because these whites do the same thing also.
He says it's a matter of finding your own path and your own purpose. He's saying that it helps you transition. So it's your plan he says it's your plan when you come here, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're black, white, purple, this is your plan, and this is your path, and you're going to feel it out through that path, and through feeling it out, he says, preaching, teaching, feeling, loving, fucking. He says it doesn't matter. He says you learn, you live, and you learn so you can be closer to God. He says, because it's really all about being closer to God, being an ever evolving, moving spirit. He says we're all energy, right?
Moving towards God, whatever. Yeah. Becoming part of one and whole of God, which we are.
Eric's saying right on, man.
Wow.
Right on.
Do you want to ask him any questions? And then I want to talk about another life that most influenced your one as DMX. And maybe it's the one you had as a disciple. That's fine. But first, Erik, do you have anything to say? And what songs do you like his music? And did you like it when you were alive? I don't remember even knowing.
I actually have a question for him. I wanted to know, I'm asking him right now, how come he never evolved like completely through his addiction and got over it completely? You know, because you would think like just sitting on the outside looking in, like this guy has, you know, he's like a millionaire, you know, and he's got all these amazing contacts, and it's like, you know, you see all this support system around him after he passed away, and I'm sure that there were so many people there for him while he was going through it. Like, why couldn't he get through it completely?
Yeah.
He says that he was a tortured soul.
Oh, yeah.
He says he was a tortured soul in living a human form for just a little while. Yeah. He goes, wouldn't it be nice to meet somebody perfect?
Yeah.
Imagine.
Boring. Oh my God.
He says, he goes, and I was anything but boring.
Yeah, that's true.
God, I love his voice.
Or you want to say anything about him? If you even knew his music at all when you were alive and y'all jammed together? I don't know, anything.
He's laughing. He's like, of course I knew about his music.
Okay, of course.
He's singing the Rough Riders anthem right now. Huh? And he sounds very funny mimicking it. and DMX there, he's like, all right, let me give you a beat. And I'm going, no, don't do it. We don't.
Oh, I wish I could hear all that. All right, so
Eric's pretty fly for a white guy, all right?
Is that what he's saying? See, Erik?
No, that's my opinion. Oh, okay. Trying to rap right now. Come on, hey, settle it down.
That's so funny. All right, so you want to talk about another life that must influence your one as DMX? And if so, what would that be? Maybe it's the one about you being a disciple, maybe not. But it will help us understand you better and learn from you better.
All right, he wants to bring up the disciple thing here for a second.
Okay.
He says we're all disciples.
Okay.
He says, so take that as you want it. He goes, it's not necessarily in the literal sense that he was Joshua.
Okay, got it.
You know, he's above. He's
from Jesus.
Yes, exactly. He wanted to clarify that. Okay. So I'm asking him right now, like, what lifetime did he have? This is interesting. I'm not seeing that he has tons of lifetimes like most normal people do. I'm not seeing like hundreds of lifetimes.
He just dips down into the earth cesspool when we need some education or something.
Actually, he was up there for a very, very long time before he came back down here, because he's showing me this image of him. I'm not kidding you, like being like a caveman.
Oh, what?
He's laughing. He's going like a cellar dweller.
Oh, God.
And so like, you know, starting fire, like start not being a caveman, but like in that time.
Yeah.
And he's like showing the rocks and like the sounds,
Oh,
like going like this, and just the beat of that, and feeling that in his heart.
that is so cool. Were you a star seed? I mean, are you mostly from another constellation, or?
He looked at Erik, he goes, your mother, man, she's not listening.
No, I mean, yeah, you could be a human, caveman, whatever.
Erik goes, yeah, I know,
But
fucking tell me about it.
billions of years ago, you could be an Arcturian, okay? I'm listening. I just know what the fuck I'm doing here, man. Go ahead, tell me.
He says, I'm one above all.
What do you mean?
He says that he's saying he's all of it. He's not on the same playing field here as like
Okay, are you saying you split off from source directly to being that human caveman and having very few lives, and then coming in as DMX and not having any galactic type of experiences?
He's saying that in times of crisis, you need intervention.
So
you need certain people to intervene and come and say things to you to make you think.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're not talking that like he's not putting himself in the same place as Jesus, or like, you know, that's not where he's at. He says you can call it a divine teacher, a divine leader. He says you can call it whatever you want, but we're not on the same playing field here with like, oh, I was a rainbow child.
Oh, yeah.
He was a very angelic feeling, like
So split off from source and coming in to help humanity at certain critical points.
So he's also bringing up I forget what her name is, but over in the, I think in the Middle East, that young girl there that got shot in the head. Malaya or whatever. Like people like that come on this earth, he says, for a reason, a season, a lifetime. He says, and it's always for a reason, you know, and you'll never understand in the moment like how divine these people are. The leaders can be your teachers, they can be your parents, and they're actually pretty divine. But he's also saying we're all divine, we're all worth it, we're all divine, and we need to treat ourselves like it.
Divinity that are here to teach humanity. So I get it. So so what was the purpose of you coming down as a caveman? Down, it's not really down, but rocks. I mean, why was that so instrumental? I mean, there wasn't much humanity then. I mean, why that lifetime?
He's saying it was an experience. It was to have an experience, to have a human experience. He says, I don't know, man, to feel it out. In preparation, he says, in preparation.
In preparation of you being DMX, the musician?
Yeah, he's showing me like a DNA chain.
Okay.
Right? And just like the pieces that build up the DNA chain. So there were pieces that built him up too, to be the person and the being, we're going to call it, that he is.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
He says he's bigger than one.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Are you bigger than one?
Well, we're
a
all
lot like, actually, he's showing me like Martin Luther King, like that concept, how it's like how bigger.
Yeah.
I didn't know this about him. Wow, this is very interesting stuff. I never expected this.
Okay, so let's close up. I want to say thank you. Is there anything else, Mr. DMX man, Earl? Do you want to say anything else before we close? Any messages to your fans, to your soulmate out there, to your family, anything, or to humanity as a whole? If so, what would that be?
He's saying, he says, my brothers and sisters, he's saying it's all about love. He says, remember to always be kind. He says, above all, be kind.
That's true. Okay, Erik, you want to ask anything? And then Abby, do you want to ask anything before we close? And then Abby, you can give your information. Well,
Eric's being a little ADD right now, like scratching his head, looking off in the corner.
oh my God. Some things never change. All right. Okay.
Now he's like picking his nose, trying to gross me out. He's laughing. He thinks it's funny.
Well, Abby, tell us how we can get in touch with you and your awesomeness.
You can find me at brightsidemedium.com.
Awesome. Abbie D'Agnese, and we will put all about her in the description box. Thank you so much, Earl DMX.
Thank you.
I love you, and I'm so glad you got a chance to have a voice here. And I hope you're at peace. I'm sure you are.
Something like this. Thank you very much, Miss Elisa.
No, thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Abby. I love you. I love you, Abby. I love you, DMX. I love you, Erik. I love you all.
Eric says, love you, Ma.
Bye.